Welcome to this video on Agility Chart 6. Feel free to pause the video and rewind if necessary if you wish to review any of the items that I discussed throughout the video. I'm going to cover the installation of the program, a review of the directory structure following the download of data, and then running the program, and we'll review the features including the scanning, use of the watch list, back testing, and multi-charts feature. The program itself is downloaded from freetradingdata.com website. It's in the form of a self-extracting exe file, and to begin the installation it's just a matter of running that particular file. So we'll go ahead and do that and look at the prompts associated with the installation. This is the first prompt. Just accept the defaults during the installation. We'll click on next, next again. We'll tick it, create a desktop shortcut, click on next, and then finally the install button. Fairly quick installation, then press the finish button. Now you'll have a desktop icon at this stage. It's just a matter of clicking on that to start the program for the first time. Go ahead and do that. This is a program opening for the first time. You'll notice that on first run you do have a prompt to press the update data button to download DR30 data. These are the components of your DR30. We'll go ahead and do that. You can see now that the DR data is being downloaded from the freetradingdata.com website. After it's been downloaded, it will be extracted automatically, and the first chart will appear following the extraction. That's just about finished. We'll have a look at that, and then we'll look at the directory structure. There's the data being extracted, and you can see now we have the first chart being shown. Just a quick review of the directory structure. If we look under documents, you can see there's a directory called Agility Chart 6, which is being created. Underneath that directory we have the DAO subdirectory, and within that the various time periods for the data that's just been downloaded. That file there is your ticker list for the DR30. So back to the Agility Chart 6 directory, some of the files here include the help file, the license file, the parameters file, and the watch list file. This particular file here is the data that we've just downloaded in a zip file format. If we go back to the program itself, you can see that across the top line we have 4 sets of radio buttons. The first set relating to the time frame being displayed on the chart. Second set being for the lower line, lower chart studies, the yellow shaded buttons being for the top chart studies, and finally the amount of data being displayed upon the chart. Underneath that we have a parameters button. Worth reviewing that at this stage. I'll just select moving average here so that we can reference it. You can see here that we've got moving average default values of 15 and 30, being the fast moving average of 15 periods and the slow moving average of 30 periods, and it's preset to exponential moving average. RSI is set at 14 periods with a overbought level of 70 and oversold level of 30, and similar default settings for the Bollinger Bands and quantity channel index. Bottom 2 settings relate to the scanning function, where if we perform a scan on the last candle, it's looking for a average volume over the last 5 days of being double the average volume over the previous 5 days. That being the last 5 days and the previous 5 days being those 5 candles there. You can change that to whatever you like. If you set it at 1.5, it's looking for a 50% increase in volume. And similarly with price, we're looking for a 5% increase of volume, and that particular one relates to the last day. That's the last 5 days, that's the last day. Just looking at a few of the other options there. New high-low relates to a new high or low over the time period being displayed. Go back to change, and the surge here being a surge in volume over the last day rather than the last 5 days. So leave these as default values. If you wish to change any of these values and use them as default values, don't forget to click on the Save button. If you're using multiple sets of parameters, such as for different ticker lists, use the Save As button and you can give each set of parameters a different name. You'll use the Load button to load individual sets of parameters. We'll just close that off at the moment. At the moment we have the Dow 30 ticker list selected. We can select multiple ticker lists. There are a number here. For example, we use the Australian the top 100 stocks. So I'll select that. On first selection, it will automatically go ahead and download them from the website. Once they've been downloaded for the first time, of course, they won't be downloaded unless you force an update through the Update Data button. I would suggest you do that on a fairly regular basis, as I will maintain the ticker lists. Okay, it's going ahead and extracting the data. Now we're showing the first selected item in the list on the graph. We'll cover the scanning at this stage. Now the scanner button operates, as I mentioned, on the last candle, and it relates to parameters that are selected out the side. If you deselect some parameters, they won't be included in the scan. So at the moment we have them all selected, so when the scanner operates, and will operate on all the tickers in the selected list, it will show buying or selling opportunities according to the technical indicator. So we'll go ahead and press the scanner button. You can see now that it's going ahead and scanning through the 100 stocks, and it's bringing up a list of stocks. There's quite a long list of stocks, mainly as a result of the price drop, sort of in that pandemic period now where the prices are dropping. So it will highlight a lot of price drops. PRC stands for price, D is for down. You can see there's an U for up, and that's beside volume. So if we look at this particular one here for argument's sake, you can see that there is a price down move, and it has dropped by 5%. There's a volume up, and you can see the average over the last 5 days is more than double the average over the previous 5 days. So that's why it's that one's come into it. If we look at CCI, you can see that that is, if we just move the scroll bar across, it is a move up. And you can see that it's just ticked above the -100 level, which is the oversold level. Any of these items that come out on your scan, you can add them to your watch list by using that button there. If you wanted to look at your watch list, it's just to click on Show Watch List, and you can see here that we have a 20.6% drop on the Aristocrat ticker. If we look at one other, we'll look at the Woolworths one, you can see it's got a 6.5% gain. You can see this line here. It doesn't show you the point at which the entry was made, but if we go on to try 1 year, you can see now that the line, that was the initial entry on the watch list, and that happened on the 18th of July. And since then there's been a 6.57% gain. So it's just a matter of selecting a particular item, and when you select the item, it will calculate the percentage change and give you a line indicating from the point of entry to the current day. Now that's how that works. Remembering you can add any item from your scan onto the watch list, or for that matter, even any item from your just list of tickers straight onto the watch list, and it will calculate that percentage automatically. We'll just close the watch list. Just before we do, you can remove entries and edit entries whilst you have the list of stocks on your watch list. We'll just close that off for the moment. I just wanted to show you a back test. We'll do it with this particular stock. I'll bring that back to 3 months just for the clarity, and we'll run a back test on that particular stock. Now when you click on back test, it will bring up the trade management parameters, and by default it just has the RSI ticked. It simply means that this back test will be conducted on the RSI. You can select whatever you like as the primary indicator. That selection is made with the drop down list here. Any tick boxes over here relate to backup indicators that you might use as confirmations of your RSI signal. If you're going to nominate other items as confirmation, just change the look back to say the last 5 periods. It's very seldom that all the triggers occur right on the last candle when you're stepping through the back test. So I changed that look back to 5 if you're using multiple indicators. Your trade management parameters are changeable. Just one point here, if you're changing the wager away from a percentage and just putting in a number, it is a fixed amount. When you leave it at percentage, it's a percentage of equity, and that same applies for your stop loss and take profit. We'll go ahead and run the back test, and you can see here that it's stepping through the JPH ticker, and it's calculating all the RSI trades based on that particular ticker. Once it's finished, we'll have a look at that. If we were to look at one of these here, you can see here that it's opening a sell trade. Current balance is 232 versus a starting balance of 200. It's opening a sell trade because the RSI has moved down through the 100 level. Through the overbought level. Just go back and highlight that. This particular one here, let's see if I can get back to the one we're looking at. This is it here. You can see that it's just moved down through the overbought level. That's the 70 level, and that's where the arrowhead is there. Unfortunately, because this is a red line, it was a losing trade, and if we look at where it finally moved back through the overbought level, oversold level I should say, which was that level there, it resulted in a losing trade. So hence the red line. So that you can highlight any of these. If we look at this one here, it was an RSI move up, which would signal a buy trade, and sure enough the trade did occur. If we look at this particular point here where it moved down again, it actually kicked back down through the 70 level, so that was your profitable buy trade. And if you look out the side here, you can see on that particular trade it made $25.72. So they are all the various results that you see listed out the side. The end result of all this was, in this particular stock, it ended up with just a $3 profit, but that's the back testing in action. We've got a print window button. The print window button relates to printing the contents of the window as it's displayed at any particular time. I'll just close off this back test for a moment. I wanted to bring your attention now to the multi-charting feature. By clicking on the 6 charts, you will display the 6 charts commencing with the chart that is highlighted at the time. So if we were to highlight Flight Center, you're going to show 6 charts commencing with Flight Center. So we'll go ahead and do that. And you can see now that Flight Center is the first one, and it's highlighted the 6 underneath. They don't have to be 6 continuous tickers. If you hold down the control button on your keyboard, at the same time clicking the left mouse button, you can select and deselect stocks. So I'll go through and select a couple of others. I've got the control button held down as I press the left mouse button. Once you finish your selections, click on this button here which says Read All Charts, and it will display the 6 charts that you have selected. There is one other feature that we need to cover at this stage, and that is the ability to select a particular chart. If you click on any chart, it will be highlighted with a pink background. Once that chart has the focus, anything that you select over here will apply to that chart only. And similarly, if you press any of these radio buttons, it will apply only to the chart selected. So we'll select Flight Center for this particular chart, and you'll see what we're going to do with that. So we'll find Flight Center and click on it. You can see now that we have Flight Center on the first and the second charts. What I'm going to do on the second chart is change it to 60 days. And you can see now that we have Flight Center on the first chart, Flight Center on the second chart, but the first chart is 1 day, the second chart is 60 days, 60 minutes. If we were to select this particular chart, select Flight Center again, we'll select 30 minutes for that chart. So we have 3 charts for Flight Center, all different time periods. And similarly up the top here, you can apply different studies to each chart. If we click on RSI, you can see that we've got the RSI applied to this chart. So whichever chart has the focus, whatever you do across the top or down the side applies to that chart only. Similarly, as I mentioned just a moment ago, if you print your window, you're going to get the 6 charts displayed. Now these charts at the moment can go full screen, and when you change the size of the window, the size of the charts change automatically. You're going to lose part of the video by going full screen, but you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. You can see the size of the charts have now changed. You might only be seeing that area there, but the charts have gone to full screen and resized. So that's back to the 6 chart display with the size of the video. I'll deselect that chart. We'll go back to 1 chart. Now look, that covers most of the features of the charting. I would urge you to have a review of the website, in particular the forum, which is on agility-charts.com. So if you have any queries, post your queries on the forum, and I look forward to seeing you again with my next video. Thank you for your attention.